Directly after Cannon Films wrapped up production on Delta Force 3, director Sam Firstenberg met up with Cannon Films producer Christopher Pierce. Since Golan and Globus split, Christopher Pierce ran Cannon Films under Voron Globus. Then it was Christopher Pierce's idea that they produce something like American Ninja. Oh, Cannon, must you be your worst enemy? Trying to steal your own life's work and repackage it as the parasitic copycat filmmaking fools you are. Cannon figured David Bradley was our replacement for Michael Dudikoff in American Ninja, who was better qualified. What did Cannon come up with? A whole lot of nothing. From running the same stories to ending up with the same copycat vigilantes, they get themselves killed at the box office. Yoram Globus had full access to Cannon studios in Jerusalem. He was eager to use them. He thus began pre-production work on American Samaurai right after Delta Force 3. After that, however, even the same production crew from Delta Force 3 returned to work under Sam Firstenberg. Lovely they're copycatting the same unimaginable fate as Delta Force 3. Their motives at this point I find highly unsavory. The bright spot in this film was the casting of Mark DeCostas. He was a rising star in the world of martial arts. He brought with him an incredible wealth of martial arts skills. Then, many of Mark's agents and managers pushed Mark hard in martial arts films. They felt just as lean Claude Van Damme felt. If he were to do a few movies, it would help raise Mark to the top of being cast into top action movies. That's why Mark didn't want to do any more B movies at the beginning of the films. Well, Mark, anytime you pick up poop and you've got yourself a movie studio on the wrong side of town called Cannon Films, that pretty much makes anyone a horse's ass. Despite Mark stepping into this turd, his career surprisingly was off to a good start. Then he just slowly disappeared from the scene. He did reappear on several TV hosting gigs. One of these was Iron Chef America. Wow. I think I heard a fire truck just cruised by. I hear DeCostas' career flamed out. Now his business in this film business is toast. Seriously now, how does one become an American samurai, let alone a Beverly Hills ninja or a samurai jackass? But since the American samurai acquires courage and strength from a different source, Cannon tries to keep up. In the case of Drew Collins, played by David Bradley, the plane stork crashed the family into a tree, leaving the baby with an old Japanese guy. Finders keepers, you know? Sorry, Cannon, but the law doesn't play by those rules. See, the thing about it is, you have to file a claim. This film plays like Superman, only being a white man in Asia doesn't grant you superpowers. Yet, he becomes an expert swordsman. I bet, and I'm sure his prowess with the blade is surpassed only by his reputation with the ladies. I bet, and I'm sure his prowess with the blade is surpassed only by his reputation with the ladies. Clarification is needed as to why his adopted father was a samurai swordsman in the 1980s. It's likely along the lines of being a Civil War buff. I will go on record and say that this is a funny way to protest the selective celebration of history. In other news, I would like to see a Cannon movie called Japanese Bluebelly. As time passes, Drew becomes a young swordsman upon which his master decides to pass down a family heirloom sword. Then, as time passes, Drew becomes a young swordsman upon which his master decides to pass down a family heirloom sword, something his biological son, Kenjiro, is unhappy about. As he should, his father raised him first. Then his stepson stood in front of the line. Drew is flirting with the wrong biological father here. Kenjiro strikes back at his father's favoritism towards a foster child by becoming a Yakuza. For even more of a Hulk Hogan shock value, he emerges from the closet by tearing his shirt off and revealing his big Yakuza tattoos. You know you don't want to be flashing your Yakuza tattoos all over South Beach. It might raise a few eyebrows. Scary. Bloodsport's father disowns him until he gets cleansed of this evil. I hope he doesn't mean laser surgery. This shit will not come off easy. Bloodsport's father disowns him till he gets cleansed of this evil. I hope he doesn't mean laser surgery. This shit will not come off easy. It is now 5 years later. Drew and a Vicky Vale type named Janet head off to Istanbul to investigate a murder. This involving a sword around Drew believes was the work of his stepbrother, Bloodsport. Did God say it was okay to kill people? Well, he never spoke to submit to unfair punishment. Then they go into an Empire Strikes Back sexual tension Hans and Leia phase. Drew and Janet seem to hate each other and bicker at one another at first. It's not charming. And Bradley is not much of a screen presence. I'm sorry, this bucket of bolts will not pass her blockade. Yet Drew has a pretty novel way of getting laid. He dreams Kenji is sneaking in to attack him. Janet hears him stirring, turns on the lights, and sees him like this. This one embarrassing way to sleepwalk. She invites him to sleep with the old "Mommy, I'm having nightmares" routine. This scene needs... That's one embarrassing way to sleepwalk. She invites him to sleep with the old "Mommy, I'm having nightmares" routine. This scene needs more bacon because it does not sizzle. Come on, Cannon, you just lost that loving feeling. Achievement unlocked warm coffee. While they are both hanging out at a Turkish nightclub, Drew meets another American tourist, big redneck guy named Ed Harrison, who comes off as a total asshole and starts picking a fight with a bunch of locals. You could say he slit them from neck to nuts. Then Drew intervenes and defeats all of them. This sparks the interest of the Turkish nightclub owner. He has his men capture them. You guys must be way down on your recruitment quota for the month. You guys must be down on your recruitment quota for this month. If Big Red is half the man Drew is, I'm guessing Fight Club could use him. Janet then makes a genius move. She chases after them and asks where they are taking them. Nice move. Mainly, if the violently deranged here retain their primal perverted instincts, which would make her ideal recruitment for the sex trafficking industry. Janet's kidnapping leaves Drew no choice but takes part in their death match tournament or Janet dies. This was when the new Canon Brain Trust was so high in this movie that they titled this Bloodsport with Swords. How can you even compare the two? This is like a copy of crap. Enter the Dragon inspired Bloodsport. Enter the Dragon inspired Bloodsport. Wasn't that a rescue mission? Cannon presented this rich pageantry of select martial styles. In a modern setting under the dome of this grand underground arena were live spectators. It was like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat on steroids before the video game industry took off. Did it use this film as an inspiration to jumpstart the beat-em-up genre? Bloodsport is why UFC outlasted and outpaced professional boxing as one of the #1 global fight promotions. What we have here is American Samaurai. You could call it martial arts meatheads. This isn't art. It's more of a slaughterhouse. Cannon couldn't have been more evident. Drew purposely allows himself to get kidnapped to gain access into this fighting circuit to locate his stepbrother Kenjiro. I've never seen a psychic that couldn't state anything more than the obvious. Yet, there are more apparent victims of this butcher house of blood. Yet nobody cares. True, all of these other competitors seem all the way more into it. They may or may not have been kidnapped. What's at stake for them is not specified. Moreover, they represent different warrior traditions. Most of them either seem that they were recently cryogenically unfrozen or brought here on behalf of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. There are no rules. Yet, everybody has a different type of bladed weapon that they use. These B movies play to the easily amused crowd that if it's slow, dumb, and tasty looking, kill it. Hey, what can I say? Chop it like it's hot. One bright spot about this picture was writer John Corcoran's use of flashback scenes shown throughout the movie. Drew has taught lesson after lesson his valuable wisdom to uphold the samurai code. It's a friendly, refreshing approach to highlight each critical, valuable lesson about each scene. In characterizing Drew's master, you couldn't go wrong in having the same adoptive father as Joe Armstrong. Drew's father seems to be a very thoughtful master. He takes a hands-on approach to parenting and ninja techniques. He dresses up as a ninja and ambushes Drew. We find out how well he would respond to such an attack. Wow, and he wasn't kidding. Junior was one false move away and would have been standing room only for beheadings in the square. Yet, when Bloodsport's dad gets mad at him for trying to chop off his finger as an apology, Bloodsport throws a teenage fit. He hisses at Drew before vowing to someday have a sword duel with him. You two have an odd relationship. Do you hate your brother so much? I'm sure there were many nights when Drew would close his eyes and wish he would be normal when he woke up. Yet the emergence of this suppressed sibling rivalry has canon, leaving us with an essential message for today. When it comes to stepbrothers, they either try to push each other to be the best versions of themselves or are one step away from the cradle to the grave. Only this game became the core of their sibling rivalry. Only it wasn't just a game. Gods of Combat was their one constant connection to one another. What I could go for now to soothe this sibling rivalry is nothing like a cup of Earl Grey. Of course, I would have preferred chamomile. Did this storyline influence the first Enter the Ninja? You can sense that in less than an hour, a couple hundred production members at the ADHD department at Canon got the same brilliant idea about the same natural-born Japanese guy. He has a resentment of the adopted white kid being better than him. He's being given ancient weapon hand-me-downs. Here we're back to where we started. On the verge of the same mass hysteria, seriously, Enter the Ninja, American Ninja, and now American Samurai are three different versions of the same idea. Canon, if you can't tell the difference between which part is the idea and which part is the execution, then you're of no use to us. So how does this American Samurai represent the samurai way? Well, there's one waving a sword at my yard, but poor quality. If you're speaking in a mythic, biblical samurai Western way, Drew is more of the observing, non-committal, non-invasive kind warrior that must become a samurai. First of all, samurai is Japanese. He's European American. The Costas is Hawaiian. That's like me saying my favorite Italian food is tacos. It's because of this I have my doubt about the end. Of course, Drew defeats Bloodsport Kenjiro in a duel. Bloodsport Kenjiro is beaten, bleeding, and wants Drew to kill him. Then he's not keeping up with samurai tradition. Drew turns his back and leaves, leaving Bloodsport to self-disembowel. This, quite frankly, didn't quite cut the mustard. To think, Bloodsport started out giving death and now gives out secret ingredients. You're 10 seconds into this fight scene, and the cheese is so thick, I think the bread on this grilled cheese will burn before it even melts. What sort of shitty samurai are you? You're no samurai, you're a peasant. A samurai? Well, it's cruel to say, but you're blind David Bradley. You'd be mad to take on a good swordsman in a duel. Sorry, I, of little faith, don't believe your samurai code allows you to strike down a defenseless opponent. Canon has us laughing in the face of thousands of years of samurai culture. What is this? Samurai woodcuts? No, he's more like a massage samurai. Oh, Cannon hired a gigolo. Sam Furstenberg assisted in writing American Samurai. At first, he was mostly influenced by the Akira Kurosawa samurai movies. He wanted the element of mysticism to be there both in the original script and in the second revised shooting script. That's how he shot the film. That's how it was edited. Furstenberg directed several martial arts movies for Cannon. He wanted the story not to be linear. Furstenberg didn't like to start from A and end with Z. He would instead begin in the middle, leaving the audience with questions rather than feeding them all the answers. The final cut went to the Cannon offices in Los Angeles. The movie was re-edited to be linear. Thus the opening, once upon a time there was a little boy. He was born, he was lost, he was found, and he was raised to be a great warrior. He had a brother. He separated. They fought. Brother perished. The end. The childhood background alone takes 15 minutes away from Furstenberg's ideal vision. This kills the mood of what a martial arts movie should be. Sam Furstenberg's films always begin with a big action sequence. Later, you learn about the motivations, background, and so on. The relationship between the protagonist Drew and the antagonist Bloodsport Kenjiro stays unrevealed. Furstenberg wanted that to be a secret until the end. He's a director who believes in delivering a healthy dose of action. His martial arts movies would avoid steamy love scenes, which give the film an exploitation bad taste. So, for Sam Furstenberg to accommodate American Samurai to Yoram Globus' wishes, they had to alter the original structure of the story and juggle scenes. This feeble-minded new storyline structure makes the film less imaginative, less engaging, and less entertaining of a martial arts film. This is not the expected level of Sam Furstenberg film. This film left a stench that stunk a mile long down their San Vicente Boulevard office. Cannon could hardly sell it the way it was compared to Delta Force 3, which was bought for way more when they sold it to Warner Brothers. On our next Cannon Films countdown, Charles Bronson is back on the beat. He's Los Angeles Police Department Officer of the Law, Detective Jack Murphy. Jack Murphy becomes a wanted man while tracking down the psychotic killer, Joan Freeman, who he helped put behind bars years ago. It's Jack Murphy, and it's his way or the highway. Until then, this is Carlo Fioretta reminding you all to stay healthy, my friends.